freedom. Now, you and I know that there is no rational economic reason for women to be earning less than men for doing the same work. That is nothing but just old-fashioned sexism. And I know that every man here today will stand with the women and fight for pay equity for women workers. And when we travel the country, we are listening to our African American brothers and sisters. And they are saying, how does it happen that in this country we have more people in jail than any other country on earth, largely African American, Latino, and Native American? And they are asking, how does it happen that mothers are afraid to send their kids out on the street and are worried about police violence? And what we are saying together is that we will fight to end institutional racism. We are not going to allow the Trumps of the world to divide us up. And that we are going to bring major reforms to a broken, very broken criminal justice system. And as I travel around the country, we meet with a lot of Latinos. And what the Latino community is saying is that we work hard. We are tired of living in the shadows. We are tired of living in fear. We want comprehensive immigration reform. And we want a path toward citizenship. And while there are some people in this country who may disagree about how we go forward with immigration reform, I would hope that every American would stand up against the xenophobia and against the racism that we are hearing. It is not acceptable to refer to Mexicans who come into this country as criminals, as rapists, as drug dealers. As a nation, we have come too far in fighting racism and bigotry. We will not allow that language to stand. Now, as Jim Hightower told you, our campaign does things a little bit differently than our opponent's campaign. And this is the major difference, and it's a profound difference. I'm here to tell you that no president, not Bernie Sanders, not anybody else, can do what has to be done for working people and the middle class all by himself. Can't happen. And I'll tell you why. And this is what no other presidential candidate will tell you. It's true, it's a painful truth, but we have to understand it. Right now, the people who control our country, who control our economy, who control our politics. People on Wall Street who have an endless supply of money, and I mean endless. Corporate America, whose greed has helped destroy the American middle class, who would shut down a factory here in Texas and move to China if they could make $5 more in doing it. The wealthy campaign donors who are spending hundreds of millions of dollars to try to buy this election, who have unbelievable power over the legislative direction of Congress, the corporate media, which determines what you see and what you don't see. All of these forces are enormously powerful. No president alone can take them on. What you all know is that American history is about understanding that real change in this country never comes from the top on down. It always comes from the bottom on up. What real change is about, 120 years ago, workers who were treated like animals, organized, some of them were beaten, some of them were killed. They demonstrated, they fought back, and they said, you know what, we are human beings. You have got to treat us as workers with dignity. We are going to form unions and have collective bargaining. Organizing from the bottom on up. And the civil rights movement didn't happen from the top on down. It happened when millions of Americans, African Americans and their white allies said, you know what, in this great country, racism and segregation is not acceptable. And many of those heroes, with their names we don't know, people who were beaten, people who were killed, but they stood up and they fought back, and that's how we made change in civil rights in America. 100 years ago, people forget this, 100 years ago, women in America did not even have the right to vote. Women could not get accepted into various types of schools, could not do the jobs they wanted to do. But women, by the millions, stood up and they fought back. Some of them went on hunger strikes, some of them died, some of them were arrested. And women and their male allies said that in this country, women will not continue to be second-class citizens. And how change comes about is that if we were here just 10 years ago, not a long time from a historical perspective, and somebody jumped up and said, you know, I think in the year 2015, our gay brothers and sisters will have the right to marry. The person next to him would have said, what are you smoking? That's crazy. Which raises an entirely other issue. But now this is what real change is about. Because of the courage of the gay community and their straight allies, we have changed this country's views about gay marriage. You have a conservative Supreme Court that made gay marriage legal in 50 states. And today, if you go out and you ask some kid who's 15 years of age, what do you think about gay marriage? That kid will shrug his shoulders and say, what are you talking about? What's the problem? That is what revolutionary change is about, is when we look out at the status quo and we say, this is not right, this is not working, this has got to change. Now, what this campaign is about when we talk about change is an understanding that, for a start, we have, and it's important to acknowledge this, a corrupt campaign finance system which is undermining American democracy. And this is a big deal because the corrupt campaign finance system impacts all of our lives in every way that you can think. Now, one of the differences between Secretary Clinton and myself is she has a super PAC which is raising many millions of dollars from Wall Street, the drug companies, the fossil fuel industry. Now, every candidate, Democrat, Republican, in the history of the world, every candidate has always said, oh yes, I'm getting millions and millions of dollars from special interests, but they won't influence me. So we have a very simple question. Why are they giving you many millions of dollars? And the other simple question is, if you are going to give a speech to Goldman Sachs or other Wall Street institutions, and if you give that speech behind closed doors, why don't you make those transcripts public? Now, we have chosen to raise our campaign funds, and sadly, it requires a lot of money to run for president. But we have chosen to do it a very different way than Secretary Clinton. We have said, no, we don't represent Wall Street. We don't represent the billionaire class. We don't want their money. We are going to ask working families and the middle class to help us out. And an amazing thing has happened over the last 10 months, something that in a million years I never would have thought would have been possible. And that is, up to this point, we have received over 4 million individual contributions. That is more contributions than any candidate in the history of the United States at this point in a campaign has ever received. And the average contribution, and this is what is so enormously gratifying. Do you know what the average contribution is? This is a smart audience. That's why we're going to win. Now think about it. Think about it. What today's politics is about is candidates going to billionaire mansions and walking out with millions of dollars. We have our average contribution of $27. This is revolutionary. To paraphrase Abraham Lincoln at Gettysburg, this is a campaign of the people, by the people, and for the people. Now, another difference. Another difference between Secretary Clinton and myself deals with an issue that is not very sexy. It's one that the media kind of doesn't talk about too much, but it is very important. When we ask ourselves, why is it that for the last 30, 40 years, the middle class of this country has been disappearing? All right, why is it that in Texas and in Vermont, you got people working 2 or 3 jobs trying to cobble together some income? One of the reasons is that since 2001, we have lost some 60,000 factories in America and millions of decent paying jobs. And one of the major reasons that we have lost millions of good-paying jobs in so many factories is disastrous trade policies. And I'm talking about NAFTA, CAFTA, permanent normal trade relations with China, and I'm talking about the proposed TPP. I want to tell you a story. I was elected to Congress in the House from Vermont in 1990, and shortly afterwards, I was already walking picket lines in opposition to NAFTA. I knew what NAFTA was about. And what NAFTA was about was telling American workers that they were going to have to compete against people who were making pennies an hour in Mexico and in other countries around the world. Now, everybody here wants to see low-income people in Mexico and countries around the world do better. We're going to fight to make that happen. But you don't have to destroy the American middle class to make that happen. And I went to Mexico in the early 1990s to see what was going on there. And what I saw in an area called the Maquiladora area. Thank you. I'm in Texas. I should have known that. Maquiladora. This is what I saw. Now, this is the early 1990s. What I saw were beautiful new factories from businesses in America and around the world. And then we went, these are state-of-the-art modern factories, and then we went to visit the workers who were working in those factories. I wish I could tell you that we visited them in their homes, but I couldn't, because they didn't have homes. Literally, they were living in cardboard shacks. In those days, they were making, probably it's gone up since, they were making 25 cents an hour. So one of the differences between Secretary Clinton and myself is when she was First Lady and President Clinton pushed this, she supported NAFTA, I opposed NAFTA. She supported permanent normal trade relations with China, which has cost us even more jobs than NAFTA. I have helped lead the opposition to these disastrous trade policies. And what I say today to corporate America, every night on TV in your 30-second ads, you tell us how much you want us to buy your products. If you want us to buy your products, you better start manufacturing those products here in the United States. Let me tell you another difference between Secretary Clinton and myself. And that is that the most important foreign policy decision made in this country in our modern history had to do with Iraq. I listened very closely to what President Bush had to say on Iraq when I was in the House. And I ended up concluding that he was not telling the truth and that invading Iraq would be a disaster. Go to my website, BernieSanders.com, find out what I said before the invasion, what happens the day after you get rid of this dictator, Saddam Hussein, what kind of political vacuum is created. Sadly, and it gives me no pleasure to tell you this, what I predicted would happen was largely right. Secretary Clinton voted for the war in Iraq. So there are very significant differences between us. In 1996, some of you may remember that there was a piece of homophobic legislation called the so-called Defense of Marriage Act. I am proud to tell you that I was one of the relatively few members of the Congress to vote against that homophobic legislation. Secretary Clinton supported that bad piece of legislation. Now, the reason that we are doing so well in this campaign is the American people know that there is something wrong in our country when the top 0.1% now own almost as much wealth as the bottom 90%. They know there is something wrong when we see a proliferation of millionaires and billionaires at the same time as we have the highest rate of childhood poverty of almost any major country on earth. So you want a radical idea? We are going to create an economy that works for working families, not just the 1%. What else we are going to do is take on the greed and the recklessness and the illegal behavior of Wall Street. Wall Street's illegal behavior brought this country into the worst economic downturn since the 1930s. Millions of people lost their jobs, their homes, and their life savings. Today, 3 out of the 4 largest banks are bigger than they were when we bailed them out because they were too big to fail. Together, what we are going to do is break up these banks. And I'll tell you what else we are going to do. We are going to make public colleges and universities in this country tuition free. And we are going to pay for that by a tax on Wall Street speculation. When Wall Street's greed and illegal behavior destroyed this economy, Congress bailed them out. Now it is Wall Street's time to help the working families in this country. And let me tell you something else. And I know that many of the leaders here in Texas, your political leaders, may not agree. They are wrong, I'm right. I sit on the Senate Committee on the Environment and the Senate Committee on Energy. And here's the truth. I have talked to scientists all over this world. And despite what some of the Republicans may tell you, climate change is real. Climate change is caused by human activity, and it is already doing devastating harm in this country and around the world. You know, we are stewards of the earth. That's who we are. We have the moral responsibility to leave this planet in a way that is healthy and habitable for future generations. And that is why we have got to lead the world, working with China, Russia, India, other countries, in taking on the fossil fuel industry, transforming our energy system away from fossil fuel to energy efficiency and sustainable energy. Now, I am a member of the committee that wrote the Affordable Care Act. It has done a lot of good in this country. But we have got to do better. We are the only major country on earth that does not guarantee health care to all people. 29 million have no health insurance. Many more are underinsured, and we pay by far the highest prices in the world for prescription drugs. In fact, the pharmaceutical industry is ripping off the people of this country in an unconscionable way. You want to hear crazy? Here's crazy. 1 out of 5 Americans who go to the doctor and get a prescription cannot afford to fill that prescription. That's crazy. So let me be very clear. My opponents disagree with me. Secretary Clinton disagrees with me. But let me say this. I believe that health care is a right of all people, not a privilege. And that is why I believe we have got to move toward a Medicare for all health care program. Many of my critics out there do not have a whole lot of faith in the American people.
They're wrong too.
They are thinking in very, very small ways. They are saying, well, in America, we cannot pass a paid family and medical leave bill, despite the fact that every other country on earth does it. They are saying that we cannot guarantee health care to all of our people, despite the fact that every other major country on earth is doing it. They are saying that we cannot provide free tuition at public colleges and universities. They are saying that we cannot create millions of decent-paying jobs by rebuilding our crumbling infrastructure, roads, bridges, and water systems. They are saying that we cannot reform a broken criminal justice system. They are saying we cannot lead the world in transforming our energy system and combating climate change. They are saying that the American people do not have the guts to stand up to the wealthy and the powerful and demand that they start paying their fair share of taxes. Now, I believe that we can do that.
You're right.
I believe that Donald Trump's idea of dividing us up is a horrific, un-American idea. I believe that not only can we win this Democratic nominating process, but we can defeat Trump and defeat him soundly. We will defeat Trump because the American people do not believe, as Trump does, that we should be giving hundreds of billions of dollars in tax breaks to the top 0.2%. We will defeat Trump because he is wrong when he says we should not raise the minimum wage above $7.25 an hour. We will defeat Trump because he is wrong when he says in a Republican debate, if you can believe it, that wages in America are too high. We will defeat Trump because he is wrong when he thinks that climate change is a hoax. It is not a hoax. It is a tragic reality. We will defeat Trump because the American people do not want a president who insults Mexicans, Muslims, who insults women and African Americans and veterans, and basically anybody who is not like Donald Trump. And thankfully, most Americans are not like Donald Trump. We will defeat Trump because our campaign is bringing people together, not dividing them. We will win because togetherness trumps divisiveness. Community trumps selfishness. And love trumps hate. There is a political revolution brewing in this country, and I can feel it right here in Austin today. But as Jim Hightower reminded us, a revolution is more than waving a sign or wearing a pin. A revolution is jumping headfirst into the political process. That means voting. That means bringing out our friends and neighbors. With your help, we can take a giant step forward in moving this political revolution. If we win here in Texas on Tuesday, with your help, we will. Thank you all very much.
That's Bernie Sanders, live in Austin, Texas. Oh, looks like we got somebody singing a song here. We can't pull that up here.
I saw the love This ain't nothing. That side was made for you and me. This land is your land. This land is my land. From California to the New York Island. From the Redwood Forest to the Gulf Stream water. This land was made for you and me. Nobody living can ever stop me as I go walking freedom's highway. Nobody living can ever turn around. This land was made for you and me. This land is your land. This land is my land. From California to the New York Island. From the Redwood Forest to the Gulf Stream waters. This land was made for you and me.
And if you're searching for a good candidate, then Bernie Sanders, he's the best man to get. And we will be strong, and we will be strong. This land was made for you and me.
This land is your land. This land is my land. From California to the New York Island. From the Redwood Forest to the Gulf Stream waters. This land was made for you and me. This land is your land. This land is my land. From California to the New York Island. From the Redwood Forest to the Gulf Stream waters. This land was made for you and me.
We love you, Bernie. Thank you so much for being so real and beautiful.
All right, everybody. That was Bernie Sanders live in Austin, Texas. I have no idea what the actual crowd was. Back here with me and Tim hanging out, and kind of a whoa, wow, we got more than 530 people with us right now. Thank you for being with us. That's freaking awesome. 530 people. Bernie said a lot of things there at the end. Actually said a lot of things throughout that he's been upping his game. I think he's really been changing what he's saying, being more forceful, using more revolutionary terms, words like fight. What are you passionate for? What do you want in this country? He really has been making a call, and it's, at the beginning he said this is going to be a political revolution, and then now you hear him saying, like, I can feel it. It really is here. Like, I was trying to create it. Holy shit, it's here. What do you think, Tim?
I think the same thing, man. I love the fact that he's ratcheting it up when it comes to Clinton. You know what I mean? He's really taking the fight to her, and he needs to do that. Like we're in this thing, man. And you don't have to be negative, but you got to make those distinctions. And you know what? Sometimes being truthful. Truth is negative when you talk about the Clintons, I believe.
Yes. When oh my gosh, that's such a good point. When she says Bernie Sanders was attacking me, it's like, no, the truth isn't an attack. It's just the truth. And when he says, when somebody comes up to you and says, you called children super predators, you said you need to bring them to heel. That's not an attack. Well, I mean, it is an attack. It's just an attack with the truth.
Exactly. That's all it is. if you didn't do it, he wouldn't be able to say it. So refute the claims. Don't play victim, man. Just it's a lot of victim stuff going on, man. It's not working for you. Just go ahead and run your campaign and get out the way. The revolution's coming.
Well, and victim is the last thing on earth that anyone in the Clinton family really gets to play. Sorry, anybody in the establishment doesn't get to play victim to anything, really. I don't think they understand what that word means. You keep saying victim. I do not think you know what that word means.
You did very well for yourselves. It's the rest of us who didn't do so well, you know?
Right. Right.
But I made a note here I wanted to talk about.
Yeah,
Bernie's
please.
really hitting hard on the super PACs, man. He's really hitting her about that money. And I made a video about it because I said, you know what? That's the direction we need to take this. We need to talk about the money they're getting, and we need to tie that into what that really means. So when she casts a vote, when she's out here talking about the people that she's going to fight for, we need to remember all the money she's gotten from the healthcare industry, all the money she's gotten from Wall Street. So when he hits that, man, it's nothing but facts behind it. Nothing but facts. I'm so glad he took the time to say, you know what, I'm not going to take this super PAC money. We're not going to take money from these people. She can't make that claim. And you know what, John? It's not his fault. She's running against a candidate who has ethics.
Right.
You know what I mean? She wants credit. She wants to blame Republicans. You're not running against them right now.
Right.
You know, so.
Right. Although I will say this, we are hearing more and more him talking about how he would run against Republicans, right? How we're going to defeat Donald Trump. He said that was very loud and clear in this last one. He'd been talking about Hillary a lot, differences with Hillary. I think he's kind of, I'm not saying he's moving on at all because he still has to do that battle. But today, he said a lot about here's how we're going to defeat Trump, right? We already know we've got Hillary done. Let's talk about the bigger problem, which is this guy. One second, I'm on your channel. By the way, folks, in the description, maybe not in this description, I'll get it in description of the newsroom this morning are all the links, including the link to Tim Black's channel, because we use a lot of his material. So go there, subscribe to Tim Black's channel, because that's the most easy thing you can do to help Tim Black. Okay, that's what we ask of everybody, right? As far as money, giving money is what you guys choose to do on your own, and we don't promote one way or the other. But subscribe to the channel, because that's definitely the first thing you need to do. But Tim, are we looking at this why Hillary Clinton's transcripts are so important? Is that the one you want me to run? Or you got something else?
Yes, sir. That's about Wall Street. Get it in there if you can, Jay.
Okay, let's run it. Let me just pull it up right now. You wanna did you preface it already, or do you want to say anything more about it?
I think well, in this video, what I'm going to talk about, I think I lay it out pretty well, but it talks about Wall Street, and it breaks it down in a very basic level why it's so important that we know about those transcripts.
All right, here we go. Tim Black on Wall Street, everybody.
Hey guys, how you doing? My name is Tim Black. I got to talk to you, South Carolina. I got to talk to you, Alabama, Georgia, Arkansas, Colorado, everybody. Listen, you're going to hear a lot of stuff, and you heard a lot of stuff about Hillary Clinton's transcripts, her speech transcripts from speeches that she gave to Wall Street, right? And some people are thinking, they're like Tim is saying, man, why do we care? They're saying, Tim, why y'all in this woman's business? Let me tell you why. We're in her business because Wall Street, they shot up our block. That's right. They shot up, they are a gang, and they shot up our block, our world. They shot up the country. They shot up our block. See, Hillary Clinton wants us to believe that when they paid her to go talk to them, it was because she was telling them how bad they were. And I'm trying to tell you that if I lived on your block and I was a leader of your block and some gang shot up the block and I went to talk to them, you'd be like, what are you doing talking to these people? Don't you see what they did to the block? Don't you see the lives they ruined? And then when I told you, well, hey, I just was speaking on your behalf. But then when I told you they gave me $675,000 to talk to them on 3 different occasions. So one time they paid me $200,000, and what I said was so tough and mean to them and harsh because I was standing up for you. They invited me back a couple more times and paid me some more money, to a total of $675,000. If I came back and I told you that, would you be like listening to me? Would you want to know what was really said? Would you trust that I told them how bad they were, or would you want proof? I mean, since I want to be a person respected on the block, and I want you to still consider me as a leader of the block. That's enough, right? Like you get what I'm saying. That's why we want to know about the transcripts. But it's not only that. That's enough though, right? Here's the other thing. Not only did they give me $675,000 to talk to them about how bad they were, they gave me another $2.5 million for my campaign. And I want you to believe South Carolina, Georgia, Alabama, Arkansas, Colorado, all of you, that they did that just because they like me. Listen, it's not, we want to know what she said, not because we're nosy. We want to know because we don't want a president who is friends with the people that shot up our block. And it's that simple.
Boom.
Yeah. Yeah. I think the whole point of that video, John, was to try to break down in layman's terms to the average person who doesn't watch politics often to truly understand why it's important. I think some people don't. There's a disconnection between the PAC money, the Wall Street speeches. Like, what's the importance? And since Bernie talks about it so often, said, you know what? Let's take a step back. Let me tell average folks who are just busy taking care of the kids, busy working, busy doing what? Going to soccer training, taking the kids to running errands. Let me give them an explanation of why it's so important that we know about these transcripts so they can put it in context. We got to do that for people. Average people, they don't watch this stuff all the time. They got other things going on. So that's the whole idea behind that video.
Well, absolutely. And they don't get to see this stuff anyway because establishment media doesn't talk about it. Right? I mean, are they pushing the transcript thing? No. Yesterday, I don't know if you're if you were on, I know you're on Twitter. You're always on Twitter. You know what happened. Witch Hillary was scrubbed from the web. We had a book burning, a digital book burning in America. The executive of Twitter said, well, I'm doing a fundraiser for Hillary Sunday. So I need to make sure that I rip this social statement off of my newspapers. Basically, the owner of the newspaper, and he said, I want every article about Witch Hillary gone from my newspaper. We're going to censor the shit out of my newspaper, right? That's what we're fighting, folks. When you talk about the ties, that's direct ties right there. That's a media organization. Twitter is a media organization. You can't look at it. Those who separate, the internet from television or broadcast, or traditional old school one-way broadcasting, right? The only people that really separate that anymore, right, Tim, are establishment folks anyway.
That's right, man. That's right. People need to see the power that they have and that there are people who want to take that power away from you. Frankly, that's the whole deal. Like, that's why, look, John, I want people to know, and I said this on my show last night, listen, when you meet someone and they're a Hillary Clinton fan, it's not just because they're a bad person. They could be the best, nicest, sweetest, most loving, most careful, empathetic person you'll ever meet. The problem is this. They've been bombarded, pummeled with media lies, media trickery. You have to look at them in that light as well. You can't just look at them and say, this person has all these facts and knows these things. Why do they think this way? Right. They have been, it's strategic, it's systematic, it's deliberate. They've been fed this false narrative. And it's our job to educate them, right? Because that's the media's job. They're perpetuating themselves. They're going to make more money. They'll make more money off a Clinton presidency than they will off a Bernie Sanders presidency.
Oh, yeah. Because of not only that. I mean, so yeah, money. I mean, you're absolutely right there. Money is one thing, but what they're more concerned about is their way of life, right? I mean, their way of life gets changed drastically with this, I mean, we no longer is it, and you've heard the Joe Scarborough, Mika Nikinsky, whatever her name is, backseat conversation with Donald Trump, right?
Yeah,
Right.
I heard that. I
Just,
heard that.
just make me look good. Just make me look good. Right.
Yeah,
Fuck it.
yeah.
And Joe Scarborough's exactly. I mean, fuck it. No, there's no integrity there, folks. Shirley, hi, you're on our show. We're the propaganda machine. We're no different than Hitler's propaganda machine.
Right.
Okay. We're just, I mean, when I say this, folks, seriously, our government, and I'm going to make this statement, our government, while we haven't murdered 6 million Jews outright, we've murdered millions of people around the world for our own gain, for our own resources, lied about it directly to the world, right? We've done these things. We've lied about it directly to the world. We've murdered people around the world. We do this and claim to be great, claim to be doing it for the good, for what? For freedom. We use the word freedom. I just want to remind everybody that over the German concentration camp in Auschwitz, the sign read, Arbeit macht frei, work makes you free. There is no difference between what we are doing, what our government, establishment government is doing today to us. We're not sitting in concentration camps. We're working 40, 50, 60 hours a week for shit pay with no benefits, with no protection from our government. They spend the vast majority of our funds on whatever the fuck they want. The military, their own gain, their own companies, their own corrupt organizations, the propaganda machine. The propaganda, I believe it was Goering was the propagandist of the Hitler regime. Hermann Goering, I can't remember their names, these horrible human beings. But today we have 6 media corporations. And CNN, MSNBC, ABC, Fox, they all lie for the establishment. They all perpetuate the myth that our establishment government is righteous and true and good, when in reality it is no different today than Nazi Germany was. I don't know, I'm going to go about 1939. We're right there, folks. Right
Exactly.
there.
Exactly. And you know what is sad is, for instance, I heard that Melissa Harris Perry, she I think she resigned. I think that's what that is she's doing.
Yeah.
She's fighting. I don't know. Here's the thing, John. I don't feel sorry for her, Jay.
No.
I don't. I know a lot of people feel sorry for her. I don't feel sorry for her because she has the ability. She has name recognition. She can start a channel tomorrow, be independent, unshackle herself immediately, and do what we're doing.
Yep.
Instead of begging to get a voice on their platform. Do it yourself. John's doing it. I'm doing it.
Yep.
We've got
Ed Schultz.
There you go. Exactly. That's what you got to do. At some point, you got to say, you know what? Like John, you define establishment. Let's put it in even a simpler term. Try this. The thing that's already built. The establishment is the thing that's established, that's already built. That's the thing we are trying to disrupt. If you had a house built, would you want me coming in, messing with the foundation of your house? No.
Right.
Would you want me, you know what I'm saying? You're like, hey, what are you doing? Man, get these people away from my house. We're trying to shake the foundation of the house that's built here in our media, in our country. What the alternative is? Building our own. Let's build our own across the street. And that's why they keep shutting John down every time he puts a channel out, because he's building his own establishment. He's building his own foundation. That's why we got to support John. We got to support Bernie 2016 TV. We got to support Melissa Harris Perry. We got to support Ed Schultz. Support me too. But there's a lot of people doing the same thing. And that's the value. That's the power. So when I talk to people, and I'm going to do a video later tonight, John, after South Carolina, in regards to what happens, to tell people, remember, we are fighting a battle, like you say, John, a revolution. It has casualties. There's a price to pay. It ain't going to be easy. This is what you're up against. We're doing it. Don't get discouraged, but recognize that what we're doing is it's amazing, right?
Yes.
We're fighting. We're here trying to redecorate the world.
Believe that. Well, and we've never had to fight something this big before. The machine we're fighting is bigger and more powerful than Nazi Germany, folks. It's more powerful than Nazi Germany at the height of its power because it's America. And we have the largest military in the world. We have the largest resources in the world. We have our fingers in every pie around the world. And it's supported. Our thug establishment is supported by thug corporations and other thug governments around the world. But we have the people. We have the people around the world, the people that are tired of this shit, the people that want to make change. Tim, I'm looking forward to your video. I'm looking forward to seeing that. I'm hoping that maybe later today, if we have this other event, that you could join us. And, glad you were with us this morning. That was easy. You're welcome any day in the newsroom, man. Any day. Love your
Hey,
stuff.
look, man. Thank you to your viewers. Thank you once again, John, Jesse, Erg. Thank you all for having me on, man. I just want to say, guys, just remember, only in a crazy, crazy alternate universe where the country that spends over $600 billion a year on military tell you you are lazy because you want $10 billion spent on education. I'm Tim Black. Talk to you.
Thank you, Tim. That's so perfect. Exactly. There's so much. It's just, I think we all feel the same way, folks. We see the logic. We go, look, Bernie makes sense. It's just, we all have to wake up. And I'm not blasting anybody because I was indoctrinated too. Okay. I was blind too. Okay. I've been blind really to what the establishment is doing, to what they are all my life. I've just been a Democrat. Okay. Well, there are no Democrats anymore. We have a social democrat named Bernie Sanders, and we have a whole bunch of conservative establishment individuals. It's really what we have. We have the people versus the establishment. It's the end. And Bernie Sanders said it today. He said, I can feel the revolution right here. I can feel it in Austin. Everywhere he goes, we can feel that revolution. We are the revolution. We are the media. We are the revolution. We are the workforce that's going to rebuild America. We are the workforce that's going to vote Bernie Sanders into office. We are the workforce that does America. We got a bunch of lazy people at the top, been lying to us for a long time. And it's time for reckoning. This is the end of the corporate age, folks. You know the song. This literally has become my next to Killer Mike Reagan. This is my favorite song because this defines this. Killer Mike Reagan defines the past. It defines what the past was. This defines our future. Feel the burn, everybody.
Wealthiest people of this country have seen a tremendous increase in their income, while at the same time, the standard of living of working people and poor people has declined. CEOs make more than 500 times of what their workers make. The middle class is shrinking. Poverty is increasing, while at the same time, the people on top are doing phenomenally well.
People always tell me that you're wasting your time. Can't you see the monolith is immobile? Yes, I tell them kindly, still I've made up my mind. 'Cause the sky above's as big and limitless as it ever was.
This is a fantastic time. From my standpoint, this is the best time that I've ever had.
All the bloviators keep on spreading the meme that there's only so much room at the table, telling us we're lucky to be eating the scraps, but we've got all the facts and we're taking our places back.
Billionaires shouldn't be allowed to hide in the shadows. Make them
beyond, let the center beware. This is the end of the corporate age.
We are well on our way to seeing our great country move toward an oligarchic form of government.
There's no quick and easy remedy that won't end in more calamity.
Corporate America, Wall Street, the major campaign donors are so powerful that no president can take them on unless tens of millions of people say, guess what, Washington? You are going to start representing the needs of working families and the middle class, not just the billionaire class. We know what's going on. We are paying attention.
Huge.